Okay. What did you guys get as the equation of the inverse of f? Good. And this one, you should have gotten log a third x or negative log 3x. And I'm going to show you now that these two are actually reflections of one another. Want sien julle die enigste verskil tussen hulle is dat hulle daai minus het. Okay, goed. Kom ons teken hulle gou. So ek gaan hierdie lyn inteken om dit te help. And then this one goes like this. There. En hier gaan ons nou 'n punt op hom wees. 3 en 1. Né? This is the inverse of f. And then the last one is going to look something like this. Also cutting that one. Okay, and I want you to look only at these two. Sien julle dat hulle refleksies van mekaar is in die x-as? You guys see that? If I reflect the one in the x-axis, the other one is formed. En dit is hoekom daai minus die enigste verskil is tussen die twee grafieke. Because they're just reflections of one another in the x-axis. Why? Because the original two functions, f of x and g of x, were reflections of one another in the y-axis. And when we do inverse functions, we swap x and y around. Ek gaan dit herhaal. Sien julle dat f van x en g van x is refleksies van mekaar in die y-as? Né? So the inverse of f and the inverse of g are reflections of one another in the x-axis. Why? Because inverse functions, x and y swaps around. So hierdie twee word hier gereflekteer. And those two are reflections in this axis. Het julle hom? Good. Laaste voorbeeld. I'm not going to do a lot of the examples in your textbooks with you guys, but you have the memos of all of them. So if you are going through them while you are studying, just refer back to those memos. Goed, die laaste ene gee hulle vir ons twee grafieke. Okay. Goed, so nou sê hulle vir ons, bepaal die waardes van x waar log 2x kleiner as of gelyk aan 3 is. We haven't done any examples of this so far. Okay, so basically they're saying, if I draw, only looking at the orange one now, if I draw a line here at 3, nee, by I gelyk aan 3, soek ek alle waardes van x waar hierdie grafiek kleiner as of gelyk aan 3 is. So what do I need? I need to find that point, and then it's going to be all values of x in that direction. Because do you see, to the left of that point, my graph is smaller than or equal to 3. Do you guys see that? Graphically, do you understand what we need to do? So we need to start by saying, let's get that point. En vir dit moet jy exponentiële vergelykings kan oplos. So you have to be able to solve for exponential equations. So we start off with this. Ek gaan hom gelyk aan 3 stel, want daai kleiner as of gelyk aan maak mens baie keer net de mekaar. Ek soek nou net daai punt waar hulle mekaar sny. Because if I have that point, then I can deal with a smaller than or equal to thing on its own. Okay. Now we go and rewrite this. So it becomes 2 to the power of 3 is equal to x. Nee, ek gebruik daai. That thing where you swap between the log and the exponential form. So hierdie ene kom onder, daai ene wat alleen staan word die eksponent en die x kom uit. Is everyone sure what I did there? I just swapped between the two forms. And this is something that you should be able to solve, because what is 2 to the power of 3? 2 more. I only heard one person saying 6, so that's good. 8. Nee? Stem julle saam? Met ander woorde, hierdie punt op my oranje grafiek gaan wees x waarde 8, y waarde 3. I had the y value because they asked you for smaller than or equal to y. Okay, so now I have that x value, and therefore I can say my answer will be x smaller than or equal to 8. Be careful. It's not completely right. Well, it's not wrong, but it's not done. Okay. So ons soek mos hierdie deel van die grafiek wat onder hom lê. So we are looking in that direction for x values. But our x values stop here because that's an asymptote. So you have to include bigger than 0. Why not equal to 0? It's an asymptote. So it can't be equal to the asymptote. Kyk maar, ek sluit die 8 in, hè. I include the 8 because they're looking for smaller than or equal to 3. And at the point 8, at x value 8, it's equal to 3. Hy was ingesluit, maar toe ek nou goed uitgevreet het hy weer weggegaan. Okay. So I'm going to solve for this one as well, because I'm looking for that point. En myne is nou nie baie mooi op skaal geteken nie, but what do you guys suspect the answer of x will be? So those two graphs are reflections of one another in the x-axis. What happens when we reflect something in the x-axis? Only the y value changes. Do you guys agree that is what we should get to? Nee? Want as daai twee net refleksies van mekaar is in die x-as, dan beteken dit hulle x-waardes gaan dieselfde wees, net hulle y-waardes gaan verskil. But it is a good thing to practice this swapping around thing, so we're going to do it anyway. Okay, so I'm going to say log of a half x is equal to -3. So x comes down here, -3 goes up there. No, I'm lying. Sorry. A half comes down here, -3 goes up there, and x goes there. Okay, die minus in die exponent maak mos dat die breek omdraai. It brings the 2 to the top, and then 2 to the power of 3 is once again 8. Okay. So as ek hierdie punt het, sê ek nou, okay, wat soek ek? Ek soek waar lê hierdie persgrafiek van my onder -3. In other words, below means x values in that direction. Sien julle? En hierdie een is 'n bietjie makliker, want nou kan jy net sê dit beteken dis vir alle x-waardes groter as of gelyk aan 8. You don't have to worry about another asymptote because there's no asymptote as we move to the right. The graph just continues. Yeah.
So is it always like down and right?
No, it depends on the shape of the graph. So you have to use this. This means graph below that point. So you look at graph, it's below that point there as we move further to the right. You have to graphically look at where the graph is. Okay,